right, y'all. Welcome to Droppin Gems. Time for Change Tuesdays. The best place to be, Tuesday at 6 p.m. I want to thank you all for joining my show. I know we've been having a whole leadership segment, and last time it was like a violin playing because we was talking about all that personality stuff. But clinically and from a clinical perspective, it's so important for you to consider your personality and being self-aware so that you could do all of the other things that I'm going to be talking about. So please know that everything that I'm telling you is definitely gems, and it's definitely dropping gems no matter how vague or how distant you are from the information. Always replay it and kind of think about what it is that will be applicable to you. It's very important for you to pay attention to that because everything is not for everybody, but if you are not self-aware, you cannot be an effective leader. Like, you just can't. So I know that last time we was talking about the big five, we was talking about the personality traits. And the reason why those are so applicable, right, is because when you communicate, you need to channel all of your communication through what you feel is your personality. But then you have to channel like a sense of leadership and guidance for all the people that's going to be working for you. Okay. So today my printer ain't working, so we gonna use the computer for what I usually would print out. So when you're communicating as a leader, right, it's going to be very important for you to be inspiring, aligning, and driving impact, especially if you are a nonprofit owner. Even if you, whatever kind of business you are, driving impact could come from any kind of industry, anything that you choose to do. So it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have a community impact, because community impact is one thing. It might mean that you have a precision impact where you want to make sure everything is clean to the T and you want to use certain products to make sure things are clean, make sure things are sanitary. The way how you clean might not be the way how everybody else clean. I like to use different trades because it's important for you to understand that precision, your unique trade and craft or whatever you do is going to be so important for you to do it and do it well. Remember, I've been saying over and over again, you have to be unique, elite, and different from the rest. So you should be channeling this in your executive summary, what exactly you do to be unique, elite, and different from the rest. Because the market analysis is going to show it's going to be other people that's going to do things in your field, but how are you going to do it different? And when you are leading and you're communicating in that way, you're driving the impact of your company to be great, okay? Everybody always be like, you know, oh, she talk about it like it's so great, or oh, this is being said and this is so great. It is, though. It is. Eradicating crime and homelessness by way of employment is a great thing. It's what I do, but it's also what the other people do that work for me. So it's very important for you to pay attention to that. So you have to make sure that your communication is always on a leadership level, right? So if I speak to inspiring and aligning and driving impact, when I'm speaking to any of my staff and they're bringing up a problem or they're bringing up something that is just so inconsistent, it's important to understand that how I communicate back to them has to be inspiring to the mission that I hold, right? So my record specialist needs to understand that, because if she's organized, right? If she's organized and she's billing and doing what she needs to do, the impact of that is so large because she's touching money, but she's also touching the students to make sure that their charts are with how they need to be. So that way the quality assurance is always going to happen in the company, which means that nothing is, so her position is so important. Even the customer service rep who communicates and say, hello, you've called Time for Change. How can I help you today? And knowing who you need to talk to, that alone is driving impact. So if I have to talk to her about how she does her job. I always have to be inspiring. I always have to be aligning it so that she's doing the task at hand and knowing that it's driving the impact. We had over 1,000 something applications. Her calling and calling, but then I developed a whole team of individuals in the office, and I said, hey, we're going to have a calling group, right? And the reason why is because they're not answering our phone. So because they're not answering our phone doesn't mean they're not going to answer this person's phone or the customer service rep or the employment specialist or the case manager or this or that. We all going to do it. We all going to dedicate time to it. Everybody's going to call at least 3 times. I've actually worked for a company where they were doing that, and it gave me that idea because I was like, yeah, everybody, it should be focused on the mission at hand. So recruitment is not just for one person, the customer service person. Recruitment is going to be for every single person who comes into the agency because you're presenting that driving impact, that communication. You're presenting that to all of your staff. So if they say, oh, well, where do you work? Oh, I work at Time for Change. We eradicate crime and homelessness by way of employment. Oh, yeah, we have trade school. We have trades. We have this kind of trade in healthcare. You know, those different types of things just come up in conversation. A leader, when your subordinates, right, are around you, a leader is going to say those things. Hey, have you ever communicated or talked to this person or told them about what we do? All of my staff interface with other people, other companies, other places that could potentially touch vulnerable individuals. We have a big span of individuals that we service. So those little pockets or little snippets of communication helps in their position. It really helps because it aligns the mission and it drives impact, right? So I like using Time for Change because Time for Change is what I know. We're about to be in business for 10 years, but I'm pretty sure that you're sitting here and you're using this information to be applicable, right, to whatever it is that you choose to do. So, you know, some people, when we talked about branding in episode 3 or 4, when we talked about that, you like to do things your way, right? So when you walk into Time for Change, I have Time for Change logo on the doors. I have Time for Change logo on the walls. I make all of my staff take a picture at the wall. The reason why is because I use that picture for social media. All of this is forms of communication to show that I'm aligning and driving the mission, right? So we've been talking about this stuff, aligning and driving all of this stuff for so long. We in episode, I don't even know, 20? So we've been sitting here aligning this whole entire time. And now I'm pulling something from episode 3 to make it applicable to this episode. Because the whole time I was giving you the clinical perspectives of business, but I was also giving it to you so that you could understand that how it's going to connect later on, right? Everyone wants to be a business owner until they're not. I've been saying that. So if you're not willing to take the idea of what you want to do, whether you're a lash specialist or a brow specialist or whether you do hair or you sell hair or whatever it is that you choose to do, whether you're cleaning, whether you're an electrician, whether you're a plumber, I had a plumber that was fixing something in my home. He had a different, unique part that was in his truck that was like, man, this would look really nice on your sink. He stood out from the rest of the plumbers that I could have been working with because he was willing to show me something that he already had in his truck. He didn't have to show me that. I already was paying and footing out the bill. But because he already know that this is a price point, right? I have a product that's in my car that I need to get off. Maybe she would want to buy it because you know what? It do fit her sink. Pay attention. Price point is always important, especially with those for-profit businesses, right? Because you always looking for someone to sell. It is no different from Target having all that stuff when you are walking out the door so that you could pick up some M&Ms or pick up some Reese cups or pick up whatever it is that you might need I think they even got the little Tide, little cleaning things. It makes you think about, man, maybe I could use that. You don't want it. You just think that you could use that. You have to, the leader of the company is trying to inspire, right? And align and drive impact. Communication is so important because you have to make sure that you're talking and know the difference between talking and connecting with people. Okay? You can talk to people, but are you connecting with people? Asking for clarification all the time when you are communicating, because you might have that role and the job description, but you want to make sure, right? You want to make sure that this person understands their role and understands the things that they got to do. All right? Sometimes lack of clarity, we have a thing where we G-chat, okay? So we talk on G-chat all the time, but sometimes it's like text messages. Things can become unclear. As soon as someone doesn't understand something, me as a leader, I drop the video in the chat to get on the video to explain it clearly face to face. So we're talking about face-to-face communication, virtual communication, text messaging, phone calls. All of those things are important. Sometimes a person needs to see how you say something to retain it correctly. It's not about a person being smart and saying, I don't know what this is. They really probably don't know what you're requesting. They probably don't know what it is. They probably were trained, but people don't retain information the same. To have a sense of empathy and sympathy, you have to pay attention to that as a leader, because you can't get frustrated if they don't understand something. It's because you didn't clearly, effectively teach them or show them, right? And then after a certain amount of times, if it's them, then it's them. But when you get that at the first time, you can't not think that you don't have a part of that. Communication takes two people. So you can't think that you don't have, I talk with the slang. I talk with the dialect, right? Even in my text messages, I might say something and people be like, huh? Or I had one staff say, well, I thought you was getting smart, Miss Tanya. I'm like, no. I just laugh. I had to talk face to face and say, no, I'm not getting smart. Trust me, I have no reason to. But I know I'm a sarcastic person. It's in my personality, right? So, but making sure that I say that and state that and be like, girl, no, that ain't here. You do all this for me? Ha! I'm not getting into it with you. I need you. Right? So you have to be an effective leader to own and be self-aware, right? So that's what we were talking about with their personality and all of that, because I have to know what my personality is to be able to present in such a way that other people could understand. And then when they don't get it and don't understand, I'm going to get on a call to effectively communicate, not because I don't think that I'm clear, but because they don't understand me, and it's my job to make sure that I'm clear. It's my job. I cannot be a leader without making sure that I'm clear. I cannot be a leader to make sure that somebody understands me. They gotta understand me. It starts with you, Jim. It starts with you. That's all we've been talking about, is self-awareness and making sure that you understand your role. And that's why leadership is such a big segment in different parts, because you have to understand yourself. You have to understand how aware you are of yourself, what you give into yourself. If you want to take some L's and some gains, what you putting out there, and then what you want it to look like. And then, do you want it to be some slop? Or do you want to be meticulous and have a rhinestone cup? Or make sure that you have, your diamonds on your neck. Or make sure you have your gems on your teeth, because you do gems. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta, how do you want to present yourself? This is me. This is who I'm presenting to you. But it also is a form of communication. Sonya got her stuff together. She always got her tea gems. I mean, like, oh, she always got gems. Or she like glitter, glitz, glam. Like, she love all of that stuff. I do, but it's also a form and a way of how I communicate. Sometimes you could over communicate and you could under communicate. So having that balance is also necessary. I didn't know. If you under communicate, you will hear that a lot. That feedback, I didn't know. I didn't know that you said that. I didn't know what you wanted. I didn't know what I didn't get it. And then over communicating is when you probably get somebody to fall asleep in front of you. So you got to ask yourself what type of leader you want to be. It's a balance. It's a no-brainer that I'm just saying it's about to be Libra season. And that's my season. Good business owners are Libras. I'm just saying. Shout out to all the Libras. But it's true. Because we know how to balance and see when we are not this way and we are this way. Now, I say all that to say too, right? You're going to navigate some tough conversations. I've had tough conversations. I've had conflict. I've had feedback that wasn't of my liking. I've had crises with clients and different things. And sometimes in those navigating those tough conversations, you have to make sure that you take out all of the important things in the conversation and strategically listen. So you have to be an active listener as a leader as well. Even if a person say, well, I think you're over talking me, take the time out to listen and stop. Because it's going to be very important. Because whatever they're trying to tell you is going to be an important thing for you to hear. Okay? Because everybody needs adapting. You too. You need adapting. Your staff need adapting. Just think, we already talked about rolling out stuff. When you rolling out that stuff, you get up, you ready, you like, okay, we got this funding, we gotta get this done, but you can't come across that way. You gotta exude control. Yeah, I'm gonna hire this person and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. This is what we're going to do. All right? Always lead to a vision. Always lead to storytelling. Time for Change has been blessed to be in business for about to be 10 years. So I have tons of stories. I have tons of things of starting my first SYEP DOES contract and what that was like. And I have stories and I have people that I've impacted. I have people that wouldn't mind writing stories. This is the reason why we have like newsletters and different things like that. It's important to always use these stories, but not for everybody on the outside, but also for your staff. You are leading something that's bigger than yourself, especially when you're leading a nonprofit. And then you're leading other things, right, that you have to be mindful of. If you can't be the supervisor of a cleaning team and the cleaning team ain't doing as good as what you would do, you can't be the person that's going to clean all the time. You're going to have to educate them on how they need to do it your way. You can't be an electrician and not put the wires up the way how they need to be put up, because that's a reflection of your work. You need to do it the correct way. So that way when you're done, they say, I'm going to refer that person to such and such. That plumber that came in here that offered me the sink, and he brought it in here and it didn't fit, but he did a good job with the rest of the stuff. And I was like, dang, like that was cool. He didn't even have to, he had some of the product. He didn't have to go to Lowe's. You know how many times I had somebody work on something and they don't even come prepared and they got to go to Lowe's and be in Lowe's for I don't know how long? Like, that's inconsiderate of the person's time when you said that your appointment was only going to be 2 hours. So, the 2 hours don't start until after the fact. So being very strategic and mindful of all the communication that you're going to need. All right. Leading with storytelling. We already talked about active listening, building transparency and trust. So a lot of my staff, I would like to say that I could trust all of my staff. I would like to say that. But the thing about it is, as a leader, you always have to look through and make sure that you're not losing on this person, on that person, or this person. I had to learn that the hard way. Everyone that works for you can be trusted when you give them the skill and the things that they're supposed to do. But the accountability still has to be in place when you're communicating to somebody. As a leader, you have to make sure that you always communicate with accountability. Which means if a person has a productivity or a person has something that they need to be doing, and this is something that needs to happen, then every time you communicate with that staff, you communicate in that way, you align it with the mission, and you talk about driving the impact home. All right? So those are the three components that I just told you in making sure that you are delivering effective communication. When you build that transparency of this is what I'm going to talk about, this is what I'm going to talk about, this is what I'm going to talk about, this is your role, this is what I'm going to talk about, and you build that trust, then you build that trust, and guess what? Hey, we could talk about, oh yeah, girl, I went to this cookout yesterday. Because I know that you got that in order. Or you know what, can you help me, one of my staff about to help me buy a refrigerator, showing me where a store is at. Yes, can you help me with that, please? Thank you. Because we already got everything else in order. You can have a leadership and professional relationship with your staff and trusting relationship with your staff. But you have to put in the work to do that. You cannot just think that is going to just happen overnight. It's just not. So you have to build that in. Now, I'm lucky. I can say that all my staff have been working for me for a very long time. So when we come into a meeting or when we're around each other, we have a sense of cohesiveness that is unmatchable. You know, you can't find it in every workplace. That's okay. You'll get there. That takes time. That takes effective communication over time. Effective leadership over time. All right. So we talked already about using different channels, okay? So using different channels to talk effectively. So yes, we have meetings, right? I use Google Hangouts. We have emails. I have an email domain. We have public speaking where my staff, they'll go to different departments to communicate to the departments about what they do. Digital platforms, all of the digital platforms that we have, even the GChat, even the text, all my staff have their little phone numbers that that the students could contact them on. It's important to use the different communication, but to use it effectively and use it all the time the same exact way. If you start switching it up, it ain't gonna work. So the formula of my communication is always the same. Like if I got a GChat, and I spoke to this already, if you was paying attention, but if I got a GChat and the GChat says something and I reply and then my staff say, I don't get it, or I don't know what you're talking about. The one thing that they could bet is I'm going to drop a video in there and I'll come face to face and talk to them, because if I'm not where I am, like if I'm not in the building, then I'm still here. So I'm going to communicate to you right away. It makes me more effective. We've been doing that since COVID. But it makes me more effective because it don't matter where I'm at. I drop everything, send the GChat, and I talk about whatever the topic is right then and there. Okay? Nothing sits. Nothing sits. Not in time for change communication world, okay? So, let me see. So, this is a good one. So, communication ethics and integrity. The role of honesty in a leader, man, and transparency goes a long way. I have built so much credibility in my staff knowing that Miss Tanya got our back. You can ask any single person that worked for me and they know that I had their back. And if I got it, they got it. And I built that from the ground up so that people could know that if I say anything like we are struggling right now, the government is not paying us, we are working on this, they know that my word is my bond and my bond is my word. They know that it's not a cloud in the sky that I'm just pulling from. This is reality. This is the real deal. And I'm telling you. And they could trust my words. That you can't pay for. That you work for. And that communication has got to happen as a leader. So I want to make sure that you take a couple of things away. So, daily habits, right? Improve communication. So however you communicate, the consistency, the clarity, the check-ins with your staff, even the appointments. I have appointments on my calendar to check in with my staff. I have supervision with the ones who directly are supervised by me. I meet with them. I put them on my schedule. And if I can't meet with them, I reschedule them and I say I apologize. My schedule got tied up. But I don't move without moving in communication lane. You have to communicate. Tools to strengthen your presence and message delivery are some of those little tools that I have. You might want to use a new system, but you always, or a different system, but you always want to be present. Nobody should have to go to any AI to ask a question. You are the AI when you are the leader. Nobody's going anywhere. Think about the tools. Encourage feedback, right? To ensure that they know exactly what you're saying and you know exactly what they're saying and everything's clear. We will get into the weeds of things like, supervision and like what that looks like and like you making sure that you are putting down all of the things that you need to put down and logging when you're meeting with your staff. Those are things that you need to do that will encourage communication as well. Because then a person always knows where they're at. And as a leader, you should always be communicating that. They need to know where you're at. They need to know where they're at. And that way everybody know where we at and what we working on. Me and my staff, after the summer, we're doing, and right now, as we speak, it's going to be the after the storm dinner. Because we've all been working hard all summer. All of us. So the after the storm dinner is going to be the kickback. And they already know it's coming because I had a before the storm happy hour. And we all had a blast. And I said, we all going to have this blast before we work hard because we about to work hard. But that was my way of communicating. We're going to work hard. I don't want nobody quitting on me. I don't want nobody crying. I don't want no crybaby stuff. Know that all of us is going to be on deck. I need you on point. That was me doing the all-staff happy hour. Now we had an after the storm dinner coming, you know what I'm saying? On the cusp of the CEO birthday. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to have a blast. Because all these students going to do great. All right? So, make sure that you subscribe to @Time for Change Consult on YouTube. Make sure every other Tuesday at 6 p.m. you are here watching Droppin' Gems. All I'm going to do is drop gems and make you better. This is the psychological perspectives of business, the clinician perspective of business. I'm not here to train you from a business school. I'm here to train you from a clinician, telling you the psychological perspectives that you need to have in place to be an effective leader, but to also be an effective business owner. I would like to thank you for your time. I'm extremely excited about upcoming things. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Y'all have a wonderful day.